Hey guys, I'm Vlad from Ausgeknipst, and in this quick video manual I'm going to show you everything you need to know to use your Canon T70. The T70 is one of the latest Canon FD mount camera bodies, and it's pretty similar to the very popular and much more expensive Canon AE1. It offers much of the same functionality for a fraction of the price, and it also has this nice VHS recorder style that you may or may not like. But for me it's a pretty nice camera and cheap too. So let's dive into the manual. In the manual I'm going to show you what batteries you use and where to insert them, what lenses you can use with the camera, how all the buttons and dials on the camera function, how to load film on the back of the camera, how to look through the viewfinder to set correct exposure and focus, how to take a photo with the camera, and finally how to rewind and unload your film. So let's start with the batteries. Fortunately, the T70 uses pretty common AA batteries that you can get in any supermarket, which is a step up from the AE1, which needs pretty uncommon LR44 batteries. So common AA's with the T70. Also, the battery door seems to be holding up pretty well, no problems. So far with this one, haven't seen a lot of broken battery doors on the T70, which is also a big plus, as lots of battery doors break on the A-line series cameras. Unfortunately, this camera is completely electronically controlled, which means that you need batteries for the camera to do anything at all. Now let's dive into all the buttons and dials, starting from the front. Here on the left you have a terminal socket for a remote control. Then you have this little AE exposure lock button, which basically doubles as a half press of the shutter button, activates the exposure meter without so you can press it without having to worry about accidentally taking an image. Plus you have this lock function which will lock your shutter speed when you're in program mode and when you've set the camera to this partial AEL mode. Then we have the lens mount for the Canon FD lenses. You can use all the FD lenses, but I would recommend using those newer NFD lenses with the T70, like this all black Canon NFD 50mm to attach the lens, adjust those two red dots on top of the camera and twist the lens clockwise until it clicks into place. Like with all the Canon FD lenses, you will have to manually adjust the aperture, or on the T70 you can also set it to the green A mode and use it in the shutter speed priority mode, which means you choose the shutter speed with those two buttons and the camera chooses the aperture accordingly to get correct exposure. Also a manual focus camera. You set the focus by turning this focus dial on the front of the lens. You also have exposure numbers, distance numbers here in meters and in feet for zone focusing. On the left side of the camera you have the unlock for the back door. To open it, press the little button and use the little lever here to open the back door. Then now the camera thinks that I've inserted the film and it's advancing 3 frames for me being able to shoot right away. On the left here we have a little mode dial which can go from lock, which basically is an off switch, nothing happens here, to average, which means that the camera will meter an average from the image while using like a bigger part of the image frame. This is pretty special setting, which you, if you're a beginner, don't worry about it, just leave it to average. Partial average means that it's only going to read the exposure values from the center of the frame. You also need to set it to partial AEL if you want to use this shutter speed lock in program mode with the camera. Also basically a function that most of the time you probably won't need. And you have a 10-second self-timer here. Press it, beeper goes off, and you have 10 seconds until the shutter fires. Let me turn it off again. Then you have a battery check button with a battery indicator. Shows 3 stripes for a full battery here. An electronic ISO chooser. To choose the correct ISO, press the button and use the up-down buttons here on the right to set the ISO. Let's set the ISO for the film that I'll use today. It's a 400 ISO, 24 exposures, standard 35mm film. So pressing the ISO button and setting it to 400 like this. And you have the mode dial up above the ISO dial to choose the different modes of the camera. Basically, it has either a program mode, which means auto everything, camera chooses shutter speed, and aperture only works if you set the aperture to the green A here. Or it has a TV mode, which means shutter speed priority. In shutter speed priority, you choose the shutter speed by pressing those down and up buttons, and the camera chooses the aperture for you if you've set the lens to the green A, or you can also just use the guide that the camera gives you inside the viewfinder. So when I half press the shutter right now in the viewfinder, I will see a LED that will tell me which aperture the camera will choose or would choose, but I also can override it manually by choosing a aperture myself. Then camera will indicate that it's in M for manual mode. So now it's basically a manual camera. So 3 modes in the camera: manual mode, TV or shutter speed priority, and program mode. In the program mode, we have some odd speciality in this camera. It has basically 3 program modes depending on what lens you choose. If you're using this 50mm, just use program. If you use a wider lens like a 28, use program wide. If you use a tele lens like the 70-210 telezoom from Canon, use program tele. It's a little, it's not so cool if you would use like this 35-105 zoom lens, as while zooming you would have to change the program modes. But yeah, that's it. I basically would just set it to program then and let it be. No much difference from my experience with those different modes. We have on the right here, we have the shutter button, and on the bottom we have the battery door that I already showed you, and a rewind unlock with a little lever that's electronically rewinding the film. As you can see, there is no rewind lever top left here like with most other earlier SLRs. Okay. Good thing with those cameras is that the seals and the mirror damper are pretty good with those, as those cameras are not that old and they use better material, better foam for those ones than for example with the Canon A-line series cameras. And the back door is basically seal free, only a little seal here in the hinge, but that's also good. Never seen any deteriorated seals with the Canon T70s. So that's also a plus for the camera. Let me put the lens back on, and now let's insert the film. Setting the ISO, it's already on 400 like I've set it before. Open the back door. Pull the film leader forward and lay it flat up until this red mark. Close the back door, and then it's a quick load system. It should advance the film. And if the film is properly loaded, you will see this little indicator. That's also pretty useful. Now you know you're ready to go, and it shows me that I'm on my first exposure, shutter speed of 350, now second exposure. I could change my shutter speeds here if I set it to the TV mode and shoot away. Last thing I'm going to show you is how it looks inside of the viewfinder. So it's a manual focus camera, and obviously you will need to look through the viewfinder to compose your image, set correct exposure, and to focus. So this is how it looks inside of the viewfinder. Now let's start with the focusing. If I turn the focus dial, you can see that the clarity of the image changes, and let me zoom in a little more. There is a little circle that's divided in half by a line. It's the split screen focus. And if I turn the lens, I need to turn it so far as the little circle, a line that is split in half with those two circles, is getting whole again. So like this, if I focus on this back wall right now it's in focus. So when the line is complete, going straight through, image is in focus. That's the focusing part. And for the setting of the exposure, if I'm in P mode, let me set it to P. Basically, there is a green P that tells me I'm in P mode, program mode. I'm just half pressing the shutter, and camera's telling me on top that it shows a shutter speed of 1/125 seconds, and it's also telling me that it will choose a aperture of 5.6. Of course, I would need to set it to the green A, like this, or I could also use it manually by setting it to a aperture manually. Then the little asterisk on top is blinking, telling me that I need to set the lens to the green A mode, or change the mode to TV. So now it's in M manual mode, and I'm setting the shutter speed on top, and camera is telling me what aperture it would choose in correlation to this shutter speed. That's basically it, all the functions. And last thing to do is to rewind the film. Cool thing about this camera is that rewind is electronic. So to rewind the film, I just press this little silver rewind unlock, flip the lever, camera's rewinding film like this. And now I can open the bag, remove the film, drop it off at my favorite lab, or develop it myself, and I'm ready to go. If you have any questions, please leave a comment in the comment section below. And if you're missing any reviews or manuals, also write me. Thanks for watching. Bye.